Anything else? Okay, we'll move on. Discuss proposed LB 354, which would eliminate state equalization funding for cities of the first class.
I don't like this topic of conversation.
Yeah.
It's eliminating. State's always cutting things out.
Well, and I mean, again, this is just a discussion, you know. We saw this on the radar in the state legislature, and we wanted to make sure we brought this up, because it actually kind of fits into the conversation that we've been having, trying to figure out are there additional revenue sources outside the scope of what we've looked at in the past, whether it's in the form of occupation tax or whatever the case may be. So, as everybody knows, Nebraska is in a shortfall right now as far as their budget. I think they're around $450 million short.
Or 32.
432. So I was going back through just kind of looking at fiscal year 24-25's budget. This year we are receiving $478,000 in state equalization funds, which is actually the third highest revenue source, only behind sales tax and property tax in our taxes section. We include that with our taxes section when we go through and do our budget. So it's a fairly significant source of funding that we receive. You know, like I said, we're not saying that this is going to pass. I'm guessing it probably will be plenty of discussions, and chances are it may not. But the chance of it being discussed and passing, there's always that possibility that it does. And if it does, we need to make sure that we're making every effort to not cut services that we currently are providing. You know, and right now we're up against our levy lid. We're at 44 cents, and that was due to the implementation of the new wage study. We knew that we were towards the bottom of our array for a lot of the different wages, and so we implemented that wage study, which created a significant jump. But we don't have a lot of wiggle room. Plus LB 34, it really restricts our ability, you know, to expand our property taxes in the future. It's going to either be growth or CPI, you know, whichever one is greater. But then there are some questions as growth relates to LB 34. I think there's some proposed legislation to try to clean some of that up, what growth actually means. One of the things that we talked about, I think at the last council meeting, was cell phone occupation tax. City staff is in the process of doing some studies to figure out exactly what could be generated. We've also talked about the possibility of increasing the hotel occupation tax percentage. That's another thing that we could look at as well too. I know our packet the last time showed some of the occupation taxes and fees that other communities charge. Those are things that we can look at. The one thing I think that was mentioned the last time we talked was a possibility of a food and beverage tax. We had done some numbers when we were talking about the recreational complex. That number actually exceeded $700,000, which would require a vote of the people. So that one would be a little bit more complicated, because once you hit that $700,000 threshold, and I think it was Nebraska Revised Statute 18-1208. That's where they talk about cities of the first class and new occupation taxes. But if there's a new occupation tax that would generate $700,000 or more, that would have to go to the vote of the people. The others would not be nearly as large as far as the revenue that we produced. So again, those are discussions that we would have to talk. And again, it's not just occupation taxes. There are also some fee revisions that we could look at. I know we've done some work here recently regarding fees. I know that Barry had brought some items forward regarding construction. I know that we've looked at some other things as well too. I know at the cemetery we looked at adjusting those fees. But those are all things we probably need to look at and continue to look at. And again, I just wanted to use this as an opportunity to discuss where we're at in conjunction with the prior conversations that we were having regarding trying to find additional revenue sources. So Not trying to say the sky is falling or anything like that, but we don't make widgets at the city of McCook. You know, it's really hard for us to increase revenue, and trying to figure out methods and means to do so while continuing to provide the services that we provide. You know, those are important conversations. So I'd rather have these conversations now than spring it on people when we're discussing our budget.
I had a citizen email me asking if we could put a tax on food trucks because they don't pay property tax in McCook. And didn't the state of Nebraska talk about that one time?
They should be paying sales tax.
They do pay sales
They
tax.
should be paying sales tax. So, and the one thing that I took away from, you know, some conversations that we had when Governor Pillen was here was a possibility of some sales tax legislation, whether or not it's sin tax, whether it's taxes on services. That would potentially increase revenue.
Mhm.
Sales tax is obviously the largest revenue source that we have at the city. Property tax is second. But there are a lot of things to kind of follow along with and keep our eyes on during this legislative session because, you know, it's important, you know, and these are things that have been prioritized by city councils prior in time to you, you know, and those are things that the public has found to be important because they haven't been removed over the years. So we want to continue to try to provide the services that we are, but it gets harder and harder. And that stabilization money, you know, when we talk about what that means as far as levy amounts, this last year, $50,000 to $60,000, I can't remember the exact number, I'll say $55,000. That represented 1 cent on the levy. You know, so that's 8 to 9 cents on the levy. That's two totally different pots of money, but that's, I guess, so that way everybody can kind of put their head around this. That's what it would mean. And we can't add more to the levy because we're already up against the 45-cent levy. So,
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay.